Welcome to the Bluestocking Circle podcast, Lady Nerds on Popular Culture. We're your host, Kat
and B.
This is episode 31, Hairspray. On today's episode, we will be discussing the 1988 John Waters movie. We may also touch on the 2007 movie musical, though it was not required viewing. We will be spoiling all there is to spoil, so be warned. For this episode, we are joined by our special guest, Amanda, who is the co-host of the podcast Fictional Hangover. Welcome, Amanda.
Hi.
Hi, Amanda. Thanks for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yay, glad to have you. Well, I don't know about you, but I feel like dancing. John Waters is an iconoclast director known as the Pope of Trash, who became famous for his truly perverse and revolting acts that were featured in movies like Pink Flamingos, Desperate Living, and Female Trouble. These movies, which starred his group of friends from Baltimore called the Dreamlanders, weren't exactly hits, but they were well known, because as the tagline for Pink Flamingos tells you, they are an exercise in bad taste. After shocking audiences and fighting with censors for over 15 years, in 1988 he did perhaps the most shocking thing of all, released a PG-rated family-friendly dance movie called Hairspray. The movie was poised to be a mainstream success, but then 2 weeks after the movie premiered, star and muse to John Waters, Divine, died suddenly. His death deflated the promotion of the movie, and it should be noted he received excellent reviews for his performance as Edna Turnblad. For many years, Hairspray remained another John Waters cult classic until it was turned into a hit Broadway musical in the early 2000s, which was then turned into a movie musical in 2007, both of which were huge hits. John Waters calls Hairspray the gift that keeps on giving, and has even written various sequels over the years that unfortunately never got made. Hairspray certainly marks a distinct change in John Waters' movies. From here on out, his movies have studio funding, which also means studio interference, which leads to less outrageous acts. However, it also means larger scope for his movies and big-name stars like Johnny Depp and Kathleen Turner, who would star in Crybaby and Serial Mom, respectively. Regardless of a bigger budget or studio marketing, John Waters remains the Baron of bad taste, and his movies are a singular experience you won't likely forget. And now our newbie B will provide a synopsis.
High schooler Tracy joins the Corny Collins show in 1960s Maryland, but what first appears to be an uplifting story about a teen girl achieving her dreams turns into a strange and intense saga about the battle for integration in the United States. Also, there's lots and lots and lots of dancing, a bomb for some reason, and a roach dress.
A perfect synopsis.
Thank you.
It is very intense. Now, so we can get to know our guest a little better, we have a couple of questions, our pop culture pop quiz to introduce yourself. So Amanda, what are your favorite fandoms?
Oh my god, I have too many. Harry Potter, first and foremost, forever. Forever and forever. I also have maybe too intense a love of YA vampire books, and that includes Twilight, but not only Twilight. And I also love Star Wars and Marvel, but specifically 90s X-Men and The Legend of Zelda and Dragon Ball and bad B horror movies, and I could just keep going forever. I love too many things.
Oh man, those are all pretty great. Although I do not share all of those fandoms, like, for example, Harry Potter. I do appreciate your intense love.
Wait, Kat. I'm just learning you don't love Harry Potter.
Oh no. It's true.
We are going to need to fix that in a future episode.
No.
It's heartbreaking.
I've read the first 3 books, like, when they came out in order, and then I just stopped. I don't know.
It's so sad because that's when it starts getting good.
I know.
Yes.
Sorry. I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure if I went back and read it, I would like it because I liked the first 3. I just didn't continue because I was in college and had a million other things to read probably. But yeah.
We might as well note now that we're recording this in the midst of the quarantine because of the coronavirus pandemic, so that is a perfect time to read 4 very large books about a boy wizard.
Yes, you're exactly right. Can I come back for that episode?
Yes, absolutely, of course.
Awesome.
Well, I'll see about that, but until then, question 2 on our quiz. What is your OTP?
Bulma and Vegeta from Dragon Ball. They're the
Oh,
best couple that anyone could ever hope to be. Bulma is a scientist, she's a genius. Vegeta is the most perfect Saiyan warrior, full of rage and smaller than everyone else. But, you know, he's a really good guy. He's a good dad. He's my hero.
I love that. Oh my gosh. That sounds like such an adorable couple.
Yeah, Vegeta's angry all the time, but I don't know, when he gets around Bulma, it's just everything's okay.
Aw, very sweet.
Yeah, yeah.
And for our last question, who are some of your favorite heroines?
This is another one where I have a giant list. Like I had to call it. So Princess Leia is number 1 on my list, followed closely by Liz Lemon from 30 Rock, then Ripley from Aliens, and Sister Night, oh my god, from the new Watchmen. She's so amazingly, fantastically amazing. And I want to say bad words, but I don't know if you guys do that, so I'm trying not to.
No, we don't.
Okay, so I'm glad that I didn't say what I wanted to say about her, but she is amazing, and she's such a an excellent family person, even though she goes out fighting crime and beating up bad guys. Then when she's at home, she's at home, she's with her family, but when she's out in the world, she's just awesome. I also love Gail Carriger because all of her female characters that she writes in all of her series are amazing. They're the strongest, most powerful people, and I don't know. I love them, and I love Gail Carriger because she's an excellent author.
So this was actually the first work we ever covered on this podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Our very first episode back in the bright days of September 2017.
What book did you guys cover?
Soulless, the first one about Alexia Tarabolti.
Okay. I have never read any books by Gail Carringer.
Oh, they're so good. They're steampunk. They're all amazing female characters. It's great. There's vampires, there's werewolves, there's other shapeshifters, there's dirigibles. It's fantastic.
This all sounds good. I'm going to have to listen. Are they good audiobooks? I bet they would be.
Oh, yes. Yes. The majority of them are narrated by Maura Quirk, who you might recognize from Nickelodeon Guts.
Nice.
Do you know? Did you watch that when you were
I did.
when you were a kid?
Was she the co-host?
She was the referee,
Oh, okay.
but she's also a voice actress, and
Nice.
she's very, very talented. Yeah, so you should check those out.
Nice. Thank you for those. I feel like I walked away with a lot of recommendations from that quiz because I also have really been wanting to watch Watchmen. So your
Oh my gosh! It's
your
so
love
good.
of the characters is speaking to me. I want to be part of that fandom.
It's so good. It's so much better than the movie that was released several years ago. It's amazing.
I got to get on it. B, have you seen it?
No, I don't have cable.
Oh, that's
But
right.
now I have endless hours stretching before me, so I might as well.
That's how I feel. I'm like, oh, I can watch a whole season of a show. Like, yes, okay.
We can watch everything.
I know. Well, I think with that, we're ready to jump into our origin stories. For me, I truly don't remember a time in my life where I didn't love this movie. I know my sister and I watched it pretty frequently growing up, and the soundtrack was one of the first records, yes, record, that I ever owned. I was enamored with the world of this movie. The big hair, the 60s pop music, the dances, the offbeat humor, and all of this went into the core of my very being. As an adult, this remains one of my favorite movies, and now I really value it not just for the showy dancing and the costumes, but for the way it celebrates the 60s without glossing over the ugly parts of it. Amanda, what about you?
I'm the same. I can't remember a time not liking this movie. I remember watching it and doing all of the dances when I was little, but I did that with pretty much everything that had any dance moves ever. But when I was little, I remember being mad, which was, of course, me not understanding the segregation stuff. But I remember being mad at the movie, like, why can't they be together? Why is this happening? But watching it over again as a teenager, and then over and over and over again after that, it obviously made more sense and made me appreciate the movie, for more than just the dancing. I also remember my mom telling me that she used to iron her hair.
With an actual iron?
Yes, with an actual iron.
Oh my gosh. So from watching this movie, I thought that's how you had to do that. And when I first saw a flat iron, I was just like, wow, what an amazing invention. Because I thought, yeah, I just was like, oh, I guess that's how everyone gets their hair straight. I can't believe your mom used to do it.
Yep.
That's
Yep, she used to
awesome.
iron her hair.
B, what about you?
Well, like Amanda, I did not understand this movie as a kid. I saw it once on a local TV station sometime in elementary school, and I remember thinking it was a very weird movie in an off putting way. But that was the entirety of my experience with this particular version of Hairspray until right now.
I mean, it is a pretty weird movie, so you were correct. Before we get into our different categories, I thought we would just go into some general thoughts. And my first question is, what are your favorite dance numbers? I think for me, it's The Bug, the dance that Tracy introduces at the end of the movie, because I love a dance circle. I love frenetic, frantic dancing. And I like dances where each person can kind of put their own spin on things. Plus, it's ridiculous and it always makes me laugh. What about you guys?
I did a lot of the mashed potato, and I quite like the bird.
Yes. I like the mashed potato too. I actually really want to try to learn the gravy dance. I don't know that one, and I'm gonna have to learn. It's like they're like pouring gravy or like salt and pepper with their hands in that
Yeah,
one.
it looks like their legs are doing the mashed potato, but then their arms are adding the gravy.
Yeah, I love that. B, do you have any favorite dances?
I am ignorant when it comes to dancing. I don't know if I would need to see it more than once to pick up on other nuances, but unfortunately, I don't have an answer right now.
Okay. How about any other general thoughts?
Where did Penny and Seaweed get their nun habits?
Maybe the joke store also sells costumes.
I bet you're right.
Yeah.
And a nun costume would fit perfectly well in a joke store.
Yeah. I think that's how I'm imagining it. And plus, when Edna and Wilbur see Penny and Seaweed in the nun costumes, they don't look all that surprised. I think they knew.
You're totally right. I bet they did get them from the joke store.
Any other thoughts?
I feel like I have too many thoughts. Is that okay that I have so many thoughts?
Of course. Yeah. You can either, if you want to say them now or intersperse them throughout stuff, but you can definitely say it all now.
Okay, well, I think I might save the divine one for later, but I have
Okay.
another question.
Yes.
Where did Sonny Bono learn how to make a bomb, and where did he get the materials?
That's an excellent question.
Right?
Maybe
Where
he
did
got
he
He
get the
found some
dynamite?
instructions at the joke shop. Let's just say
yeah.
the joke shop was the answer to everything.
Maybe he got the materials from the theme park that he ran. Like maybe they were like left over from some kind of construction there.
That could be.
I don't know. That part always obviously is very memorable and it really freaked me out as a kid.
It wasn't very strong dynamite, though. Or it
No.
was a really strong wig.
Maybe it was all of the hairspray in there was able to
Ooh.
contain the dynamite.
Yes, I bet that's what it is.
Yes, definitely. I really love the opening credits for this movie where it's just all of the kids from the Corny Collins show sitting around waiting to film as they apply tons and tons of hairspray. I don't know why it always makes me laugh just seeing all of them just like spray for like 30 seconds continuously, hairspray.
I saw online that the original title of this movie was White Lipstick. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. And if you
I think it's a
notice,
good
like they
change.
all wear white lipstick. It all of their
Mhm.
lips look so weird because of the white
Yeah,
lipstick. But it is a good change. I think Hairspray is definitely a more catchy title and a more like
Yes.
evocative of the time period.
yeah, I agree.
All right. Any other general thoughts before we get into our ship wars?
Not right now.
Okay.
No.
So let's get into ship wars. So for me, it's definitely Tracy and Link. I love that the hunky lead guy gets together with the odd female lead who's kind of the outsider. And I think they have such a fun relationship. Obviously, like you see Link and his relationship with Amber at the beginning of the movie, and they just like seem like they should be the perfect pair because they're both good looking and popular, but they obviously don't have a lot in common. And so when you see Link and Tracy together, I think that they just like go really well together and they just like have a lot of fun and they explore new things together and they like get into activism together. I think it's cute. But I also think that kind of all of the relationships in the movie are pretty good, from Penny and Seaweed to Edna and Wilbur. I think that the movie does a good job of showing sort of the over the top dramatic feelings of a high school romance while still being funny and irreverent. One of my favorite scenes is when, after the race riot, and he has knee damage and he's just crawling on the floor calling out for Tracy. That's the kind of devotion that I look for in a relationship.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah. I love that both of his kneecaps were shattered by like being hit by a purse, but
I
then
know.
just a couple of days later he's standing up miraculously from his wheelchair and dancing again.
And
It's
dancing.
perfect.
You can't keep him from dancing.
No, you can't. You can't stop Link from dancing.
What about you, Amanda?
Oh, Penny and Seaweed for me. Definitely. But, you know, you're right. They're all good. But I like that Penny finally found a guy for her, you know, and Seaweed was much better than all those Melvins that she was dancing with at the beginning.
I think you're right. I'm so happy that Penny found someone because, like, the guys that start dancing with her at the beginning are either just so rude to her or just, like, such a creep. So I think that their relationship is so sweet. B, what about you?
I mostly just felt bad for the guy that Tracy ditched at the start of the movie. Fender, was that his name?
Honestly, I've never thought about that guy's name.
I think I looked him up so I could point him out for this episode. But
Really?
she dumped him for Link without the slightest trace of remorse, and he was the first one who noticed her. Could have had a little bit of remorse there, just a teensy bit of remorse before she moved on to Link.
That's so funny. I never ever paid attention to that. I was just like, yeah, of course, dump that guy and get with Link in my mind. Uh, but I do like that Tracy has many suitors who are after her attention. All right, anything else about their relationships? No?
I don't have anything else.
Well, actually, I do have one thing. This is an off behind the scenes mention. I listened to the movie with commentary, and John Waters was saying that Jerry Stiller, who plays Wilbur, Tracy's dad, was a method actor. And so even when they weren't filming, he would put his arm around Divine and act very affectionate towards him. And Divine was just like, what the heck is this guy doing? But I find it very funny to think about them backstage and Jerry Stiller still just being the character of Wilbur.
I read some very interesting background info too about one in particular was about how Divine stuffed his bra with lentils, and one of the teenage actors would play the bongos on the lentil bosom, and nobody thought it was weird.
Wow, that's pretty good.
That would not be a comfortable bosom to have. Lentils.
No, seems very heavy, but I guess that's what he was going for. I also just in my reading and listening to the commentary, it really seems like everyone who made this movie had such a good time. And one thing that I actually really like about it is that the teenagers in the movie are played by actual teenagers and they look like teenagers. Like, there are some kids who look so young in this movie. But
They do. It made me feel so old.
I know, they're like little tiny babies. But I love that. I don't know. And I feel like they act like teenagers, they dress like teenagers. They're just like it's a good portrayal. But yeah, it just seems like everyone had such a good time. And John Waters really just was like, and Divine just seemed to be like fun uncles who kind of like showed them all the ropes. And Ricky Lake always talks about how Divine taught her how to walk in heels because she never wore heels really before doing this movie. So I just think overall, it seems like a fun time that they all had.
How old was she when she filmed this movie?
I think she was 18 or 19, and she was
Oh, wow.
picked out of a random casting call. Like, they just put out a casting call for fat girls who could dance, is what it said, and that was it. And she didn't know who John Waters was. She had never been in a movie before. She like left college to do this.
Wow.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and actually, it was kind of not a controversy, but it was kind of a whole thing because Divine wanted to play both parts. He wanted to play the mother and the daughter, and John Waters was like, "No, you can't do that." So when Ricky Lake first showed up, Divine was like a little put off, but then they immediately like got on really well. And Ricky Lake talks about just like what an amazing experience she had making this movie, and she was like, this was my first time making a movie and I thought that they were all going to be this fun. And she's like, they're not all this fun. And this was just like a special experience.
Is that a tradition, I suppose, for casting Tracy? Because I've seen several other productions, for example, the 2007 movie and also the NBC production a few years ago. They also had open casting calls for the character. Is that just the way that they choose to fill this role?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they just did that in the spirit of the first movie of doing that like Ricky Lake, or if they I don't know. I don't know if it's a conscious decision. I feel like it must be because to keep doing it like that. Yeah, maybe they want like because she's sort of supposed to be like an up and coming person in the movie, they want like a new fresh face.
That's
But I
nice if
haven't
they
read
do that.
Yeah, I haven't read any like specifics on it. All right, so I think that's it for Ship Wars and we can move on to our feminist rant. Well, so for our feminist rant, I have some things maybe to rant about, but mostly I have some feminist fawning, as it was dubbed by our previous guest, Lorian, because I love, love, love Ricky Lake. I used to rush home every day after school to watch her talk show. I just think she's so engaging and such a good actress and just person. And I think that Tracy is such a great female lead. I love that she's the weird outsider, but she doesn't fall into some of the traps that I've seen in other media of being sad or depressed or from a bad family. She's just super confident, really talented, and Ricky Lake just exudes charm. Plus, I love that her parents are so supportive of her. It's really sweet. And she has a great best friend. She's just like a good character that has a lot going for her. And she's just great. I love her. And fun fact, I actually dressed up as Tracy for Halloween one year and I hand painted a roach dress to be similar to the one that she wears at the end of the movie. It's one of my favorite costumes ever. And yes, I love it.
No, 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 no. But I'll leave that for Catharsis Corner.
Well, do you guys have any rants and or fawnings?
I just want to rant about Penny being cattle prodded. I mean, like,
Yeah.
it's hilarious because John Waters is ridiculous, but why was her mom so terrible? Like, Penny doesn't ever seem to have done anything bad. She's just a little weird. Why does that lead to being cattle prodded?
Yeah, it's pretty extreme.
Right?
I think that it works for me because you can make fun of that character and she's just so insane and racist.
Yeah.
And I love the scene where she just gets straight up laughed at when she goes into like the black neighborhood to find her daughter. And she runs up to the police officer's car and like, please help me. And it just turns around and it's also a black police officer. She just runs screaming. So I think it works just because she is clearly a terrible person, but it is pretty disturbing. And even when Penny is locked into her room with the bars on the windows. But listening to the commentary, John Waters said that one of his friends, that happened to them. Like they put bars on her window as a kid or as a teenager to stop her
gosh.
from like sneaking out at night. And I think from like things that I've read about mid-century mental health treatments, I don't think it's actually that extreme that Penny's mom would try to get her like insane hypnotherapy because yeah, a lot of women got treated pretty badly back then.
Yeah. I wish that Divine would have, like, put Penny's mother in her place at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Or at least when she finished the ironing.
I love the way Divine says, I'm trying to iron. Oh, it's so good.
I didn't know that Divine died 3 weeks after the movie released. I had no idea.
Yeah, it was pretty sad. And obviously it was very sudden and he died in his sleep. And it was made extra sad because he got really great reviews for this movie.
Hmm.
But also the day before he died, he was supposed to be like a big role on Married with Children.
Oh my
And like
gosh.
the next day was when he was supposed to show up for set. And he was going to be playing a male character who was going to be like a gay uncle character. So it also would have been one of the first gay characters on like primetime TV.
Oh my
And they
gosh, I
had to
didn't
like,
know that.
yeah, and they had to reconfigure the whole show because like he was going to be such an integral part of that show. Yeah, when I learned that, it really broke my heart because that was also one of my favorite shows growing up. And I can imagine him fitting in so well to that show. It really hurts to know that he could have been a part of that.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, I will say too, when I was a kid, I did not even know that Divine was a man. I did not know that it was a drag queen playing Tracy's mother. I think he does such a good job that like it just read as a straight like female character. I didn't see any there's none of the typical like garish makeup that Divine usually has.
Hmm.
So it just to me read as a mother, a sweet mother. And in some ways, I think that makes it like his best role because he fits in so well. He just does it so good.
Yes. I think I read that people in the neighborhood thought the same thing. Like, they saw Divine standing on the side while they were filming, and they were like, "What's going on over here? What's this filming?" And she's like, well, it's a movie, and I'm in it."
I read that too. Yeah, and Divine said when he like showed up to set in a house dress and his hair all pinned, he's like, "Ugh, I can't even call myself a drag queen looking like this."
Oh my gosh.
Uh,
You said you didn't recognize that Divine was a man. I think that was the only part of the movie that I didn't like, was when he was the man character, like the angry racist television producer or whatever he was. Like, that guy was the worst, but you're Divine. You're not supposed to be a man. You're supposed to be Divine. And if you have a choice, you should always be Divine.
I
Like,
know.
always.
I think it just stemmed probably because he wanted to play two characters. Like I said, he wanted to be the mother and daughter, so maybe that was sort of a way to give him that. But I guess learning about this Married with Children role that he was supposed to play, he was going to play a male character, so maybe that's something that he was trying to like test out in this movie. But it is sort of like, I just want to see Divine being Divine.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. B, do you have any rants or fawnings?
I don't have any rants this time, but I do have a fawning. I quite liked it when Tracy and Edna went for a makeover, but then Edna got in on the fun. I thought it was very sweet that she was encouraging her mother to change her image in a way that was more satisfying to her after all the hard work she did. I thought that was a very nice moment between them.
Yes, I agree. I love that scene so much. Yeah. And she's like, "No, you deserve it. Come on." And she like always includes her mom and everything. And actually, one of my favorite outfits or costumes of the whole movie is their mother-daughter outfit that they wear at the dance with the like fake flower tops.
That was sweet.
Yeah, that is such a good, like, I would wear that outfit right now.
Me too. I like want to make a dress out of fake flowers to look like that because it's so amazing. But yeah, I think that the mother daughter relationship between them is genuinely sweet, and that's what I love how that's like supportive the parents are. Even though at first at the beginning of the movie, Divine is like chiding her for watching TV all afternoon and like doesn't really want her to go to the dance or anything. Once she's successful, she like jumps all in and is like super supportive. And even once Tracy gets involved with the integration riots, both her mom and dad are supportive and like become activists as well. And I just think that that's like what a great relationship that family has.
Oh, I agree. They're
Agreed.
such good parents.
Yeah. Unlike Amber's parents. Just
Oh
the
my
worst.
gosh. And Penny's parents.
And Penny's parents. Yeah, exactly. Right. You can appreciate Tracy's parents so much more in comparison to Amber and Penny. Oof, yeah.
Kat, do you want to share the fun facts you told me before this recording regarding who Amber is?
Oh, yes. Yeah, if you don't know, the actress who played Amber went on to be the pop singer Vitamin C, who had that big song Graduation in the early 2000s, I guess it was. But yeah, this was like one of her early roles. I remember when that song came out and I was like, "Oh, she looks a little familiar." And then I like read some article in Rolling Stone or something and they talked about her being in Hairspray. I was just like, "Oh my God, I love that." It made me so happy. Well, so Amber is sort of the villain of the movie, and her parents are played by Debbie Harry and Sonny Bono. And I think that's excellent casting. Another thing that I learned in the commentary was that Sonny Bono was actually in real life running for mayor of Palm Springs while he was filming this movie. And because he did know John Waters' movies, he kept asking, like, are there any other scenes that I'll have to do? Because he didn't know like how outrageous John Waters was going to make him.
For those of us who are not familiar with John Waters, what kind of scenes would those be?
Well, for example, in Pink Flamingos, this is the most infamous of these types of scenes. Divine ate dog poop live on camera. So,
Oh, okay.
and he
Why?
also, well, the whole premise of that movie is that it's these two rival families who are trying to be the filthiest people alive. So the whole movie is just like these like trying to one up each other in like over the top disgusting acts. And that's the spoiler alert, but that's the end of the movie. So it's clear that Divine wins as the filthiest person.
It's so gross.
It's really disgusting. And for that movie, John Waters also asked Mink Stole. Mink Stole plays Corny Collins's like assistant in Hairspray, and she's like one of John Waters' regular actresses. And so she was in Pink Flamingos, and John Waters wanted her to light her actual hair on fire, which she refused, thankfully. But those are the types of things that John Waters is known for asking his actors to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm glad I asked, but okay.
In the commentary, Ricky Lake talks about how when her hair is like peroxided in the movie, that's her actual hair. Like she isn't wearing a wig, which I always assumed it was a wig. And she was like, no, John Waters made me bleach my hair and it's never been the same since. And she's like, but considering what he's had other actors do, I guess I got off easy. Man, I can't believe we have no real ranting to do. I take that as a successful pick.
Well done.
Yay. So if that's it, then I guess we can head into Catharsis Corner. So for me, I think this is a perfect movie, but I will say I really wish that there was more character development and backstory on Seaweed, Little Inez, and their mother, Motormouth Mabel. They're the catalyst for the action of the movie, but we really don't know too much about them. Although I did read that in some of the many, many sequels that were planned, Seaweed and Little Inez do become bigger parts.
I agree. I want to know more about Seaweed and Little Inez and Motormouth Maybelle, but like, can we have another remake? But this time it all takes place at Motormouth Records? I would love to watch that. Like, I want to see that side of the story.
I would too, actually. I would totally watch that.
Yeah, I think that would be great. And like I said, from what I read of some of the planned sequels, that is sort of the direction John Waters was going, at least focusing more on Penny and Seaweed. And then one of the examples he gave was that Penny would join the Weather Underground and that Seaweed becomes a Black Panther. Or maybe it's Little Inez that becomes the Black Panther. But yeah, they both get like super into activism in the late 60s and it would sort of follow more of their lives. I was like, oh, that sounds so good. I want that movie.
I would really love to see more of Penny and Seaweed's relationship. And I can just imagine Penny giving Little Inez a jawbreaker and them like gossiping about cute boys in the record shop. It would be so amazing.
Yes, I agree. And also sharing hairstyle tips because they basically have the same exact hairstyle.
That's true. I noticed that too.
It was so funny. I was like, wow, it's the same hairstyle. But of course, by the end, Penny is ironing her hair.
Yes.
Well, on another note, I feel like I could talk for basically the entire length of this podcast about how much I love the clothes and the music in this movie. I think it's a really, really good period piece that shows the spectrum of early 60s fashion from the cool and hip to the truly downright atrocious. And even the hairstyles, there's some that are like really cool and probably would still be stylish now. And then there are some that are just so big and insane that they look absurd, but they're all based on like actual hairstyles from that time period. But I think that when it comes to period pieces, a lot of movies tend to only want to show the really fashionable parts of that time period and maybe shy away from more day-to-day clothing. But I always like to see it all, and I feel like that's what this movie gives me. It gives me the full spectrum of early 60s fashion. What do you guys think?
The costumes were amazing. I love the way this movie looks. And I wish people still dressed like that. And I say that having worn college t-shirts and yoga pants for about 4 days straight with no end in sight, considering that we're not leaving our houses right now. But when we do leave our houses, it would be great if we all agreed to dress like this from now on.
I will do
I will
that.
be the first to agree. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not afraid to wear a ridiculous costume. So I'll do it. I didn't realize that you guys didn't do video, and I almost like beehived my hair, but it's a good thing I didn't waste that time because you guys made good video.
Oh, man. Shoot. Really regretting not having video. Although I will say one time I went as an adult. I did go to a work event about 10 years ago, and I went to the hairdresser and got a full-on beehive, and it was amazing. And I slept on it, and it still was perfect the next morning because it had so many pins and hairspray. It was fantastic.
How did your coworkers react?
They loved it. But I think I'm sort of known for wearing weird things already, so it wasn't out of the ordinary. But this time period is definitely like one of my favorites in fashion. I think that the outfits are so good. One of my favorite outfits is the one that Tracy actually gets after their shopping spree. It's like a neon green with like cutouts in the neck and like a tight skirt. It looks like fashionable to me now. I want that outfit. I think it's great.
I think I would rather wear the flowers.
I do love the flowers.
The flowers
I
are really
also,
good.
there's one scene. Oh, I think it's when they go to the dance that Motormouth Mabel hosts, and she's wearing this like amazing flowy leopard print, like black and gray leopard print with sparkles all in it. It's fantastic. I want a whole dress made of that fabric.
I'm surprised you don't have one already.
I know. I do have other sparkly caftans, just not leopard print.
Since we don't have video, I think we should note here that Kat is a very fashionable dresser.
A lot of it is thanks to this movie because it just like set in my brain of like what style is. And I think that all of John Waters' movies have such a unique style and fashion to them. And I think one thing he also does really well is pick music for his movies because I think the music in this movie is amazing. I listen to the soundtrack regularly and I love it because it's not just like the typical standard top 10 hits that you like know and have heard a million times from this time period. And it's not like it's unknown artists, but it's just like he picks things that are a little more, I guess, of that time because they're all things that were trendy or big hits at the time. They were just sort of like maybe one hit wonders or something, maybe haven't survived and we don't know about them as much. And all of the songs in this are from that time period, and most of the dances were actual dance crazes from that time period.
That's one of my favorite
cool.
things about it is that it's real. Those were the real dances that kids were doing at the time, and it's not something that they made up just for the movie. Like, it was all real, and I love that.
Yes. I think that's one thing for me that makes it difficult when I watch parts of the musical because I have never seen the whole thing. But any of the scenes that I see, it's more standard Broadway dancing, and I just want to see like the actual dances from that time period. So I appreciate that too. Like, I just want to see the trendy dances from that time.
You just want to do the mashed potato and with adding gravy on top.
I know. I really want to learn the Madison also.
Yes.
I think what I love about the dancing in this movie too is that most of the time you don't actually have to touch your partner. It's just like solo dancing or like in a group or like even when you're dancing with a partner, you're still just like doing your own thing that's related to what the other person is doing. But that's like my preferred style of dancing.
Kat, I just thought of something.
Yes.
You need to organize a virtual dance party.
Ah.
No touching. Everyone's 6 feet away on their
Yes.
webcams.
I would come to
That would be great.
I would come to that.
Yes. Okay. Well, if I get quarantined and have to stay home from work, that will be on my list.
It would be perfect for social distancing. You know, you could do those dances with people just 6 feet apart, and it would be perfect.
Exactly. Perfect for this time.
I will admit, by the credits, I was dancing myself.
Yay.
Yay.
It's really hard not to. So do we have any actual things to cathart?
Yes. Yes, I do. That roach dress that you made for a Halloween costume, Kat, was a massive nope for me. And the dance was a nope. Everything that has to do with roaches is a nope. And I did not care for any of that.
While I fully respect that, I have to say, I love that dress so much. I love that dance so much. And it was an actual dance from that time period, but it makes me laugh so much because it's so absurd to like have a dance when you're killing roaches and like spraying them. I don't know. It's so ridiculous that it just like is delightful to me.
That was another one of the scenes that they cut out. There was like they actually had roaches coming out of her hair at one point.
Yes.
Ugh.
That is
No, thank
yes,
you.
Nope.
As much as I love the dance and the dress, I am so glad they cut that scene because that really would have been too much for me. I agree.
Yeah. Ugh,
I don't
no.
want to see any actual roaches.
Ugh.
Did they film it and it was cut, or did they not get to film it?
I believe they filmed it.
Mm-hmm. They did. Yeah.
And she's complaining about the peroxide in her hair.
Yeah. She did also complain about the roaches, but I have to say she complained more about the peroxide. So I guess that was a longer lasting trauma. As someone who has bleached my hair many times, it really does affect you for a long time. So
It does. I've done it a lot too.
All right, well, let's get into the sock ratings. B, give us your sock rating.
I'm going to give it 3.5 socks, which is good. That means I liked it a lot. 4 is my cutoff for I love it, and I usually don't give a 4 or higher unless I grew up with at work, so I have all those fuzzy associated feelings. But seeing it with fresh eyes now as an adult, I thought it was a great movie. It was a lot of fun, so 3.5.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Amanda?
I'm giving it 4 socks, but that's only because I like Crybaby better.
I love Crybaby. It's very hard for me to choose. And I'm actually getting ready to rewatch Crybaby because I pulled out my DVD for that while I was researching this movie. So I think that's what I'll be doing after recording.
Excellent.
So perhaps my ratings will change after rewatching that one. But
I need to ask, what's the disgusting scene in Crybaby then?
actually, I think Crybaby is not as much, if I remember. So I think that this movie is sort of a line in the sand for John Waters' movies. His movies previous to this were all basically independent movies that he produced himself. This is the first movie that he had studio backing and an actual producer from the studio there to sort of rein him in or give him help also. So I think that the disgusting things get less in the movies. There's still a lot of like outrageous things, but definitely less disgusting.
Yeah, I don't remember anything terribly disgusting from Crybaby except for Hatchet Face's face.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably it. It's just he has a tendency to cast people with extremely memorable, unique faces. So there is a character named Hatchet Face who looks exactly like you might imagine someone named Hatchet Face to look. But yeah, I can't remember anything truly disgusting in that movie. Or, well, I mean, Serial Mom is about a mother who's a serial killer, so I guess there's that. But there's nothing like his early movies, I will say.
No eating dog poo.
No, yeah, I think Crybaby is a safe one to watch next. Well, for me, my sock rating is 5 socks. It's perfect. I love it, and it made me who I am today. And that's it. That's all I have to say. Now for our reading recommendations. For my reading recommendations, it's basically all going to be John Waters. I will say that he has several books. They're all really fun reads. A lot of them are just collections of essays that he's written. There's a lot of stuff about his making of his movies and sort of behind the scenes fun stuff. There's one called Role Models that I really like, where he talks about each chapter is like a person that he admires in art or culture, and he talks about how that person influenced him. So that one's a really interesting read. But his newest book is called Mr. Know-It-All, and it includes a chapter about making hairspray that was really fun to read. And I actually got to hear John Waters speak at a book release for the newest book, and he signed my book. So it's a treasure.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, it was really exciting. I've gotten to see him speak actually like 4 times now, which is really fun.
That's amazing.
So for my viewing recommendations, obviously more John Waters. We discussed it a little bit before, but I think that Crybaby is a really good next step if you're new to John Waters. It's his movie that he made right after Hairspray, and it also stars Ricki Lake. If you want the full John Waters experience, I think that you have to see his early movies, and for those, I would recommend Female Trouble, starring Divine as a petty criminal who gets taken in by ruthless hairstylists that encourage her darkest criminal behaviors. It's over the top and truly disturbing, but in the best way possible. I actually recently saw it on the big screen in a packed theater, and man, was that fun.
Things are bad because I'm already thinking, wow, that must have been a long time ago. Pack
I
theater.
know. It sounds insane now. I know. One of my other viewing recommendations is the TV show RuPaul's Drag Race. It's the best reality TV show on air. It's fantastic. It has everything. There's sewing, there's singing, there's dancing, there's comedy. It's just basically a combination of every kind of reality competition show, but with drag queens. So it's just fabulous. And I think that if you watch this movie and like Divine's performance, and you want to see kind of more of the amazing creativity and humor of drag performers, definitely check out the show. The 12th season is airing right now, but I think seasons 1 through 6 are available on Hulu. And season 4 is one of my personal faves, so I think you could start there and have a good time. Have either of you seen this show?
I've seen a couple
No.
of episodes, but I haven't sat down and watched the entire thing. And I think you might
Oof.
have chastised me about that a few years ago
You
because I haven't
would
watched
love
it.
Honestly, like they used to not be available for streaming for a while, but now, like I said, the first 6 seasons are on Hulu, and season 4 is a good one to start with. That's some good quarantine watching right there. I mean, it's basically like Project Runway mixed with America's Next Top Model is probably the most accurate way to describe it. Yeah, it's great. And then for two other movies for my viewing recommendations, I think both of these movies were probably inspired by or just owe a lot to John Waters. And they're two movies from the 90s. One is called Welcome to the Dollhouse, and the other is But I'm a Cheerleader. They're both sort of offbeat coming of age stories with a very distinct visual style and sort of dark comedy sensibility to them. I think they're both fantastic. I highly recommend them. They're both sort of weird and strange, but also heartwarming. So I think it would go in line with Hairspray. Have you seen either of these?
I haven't.
I have not.
Oh man. Okay. Welcome to the Dollhouse is really good and strange. And But I'm a Cheerleader, I saw recently, so it's more in my memory. But it stars Natasha Lyonne, and she's a high school cheerleader who doesn't realize that she's gay. And her parents sent her away to like a gay conversion therapy camp that's run by RuPaul, actually, but out of drag. And there she falls in love with one of the other people at the camp, one of the other women. It's really good. It's like a really sweet coming of age story, but also weird and strange and sort of like social commentary. So, yeah, that's it for my recommendations. Amanda, what do you got?
Since I almost always only read young adult books, I'm going to go with one of those for my recommendation. And I will suggest that you read Dumplin' by Julie Murphy. It's another tale of a pleasantly plump teenager teaching people things they should already know and be better about, but this time it's through a beauty pageant. And for my viewing, I will also recommend watching the Dumplin' movie. And while there's no Divine or 60s pop, there is the delightful Ginger Minge and lots of Dolly Parton. So it's almost just as great.
I can't believe you don't watch RuPaul's Drag Race. Ginger Minge was a contestant. Ugh. Ugh.
I know. I'm sorry. But still, it's very good. You
I
should watch
haven't
the movie.
seen or read Dumplin', and I've been wanting to because I remember when it came out and seeing that Ginger Minge was in it, and I thought that was just great. So, and of course, how can you not love Dolly Parton?
Right? Dolly Parton is amazing, and they go to learn how to perform in beauty pageants. They go to a drag show, and then the drag queens help them. So it's pretty
Oh,
delightful.
that sounds great.
Yeah. They go to a Dolly Parton night, and it's pretty great.
Oh, that sounds so good. Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch.
I think you'll like it.
Nice. B, what do you have?
Well, my recommendations are a little bit different this time. I took a course on the history of racism in the United States a few years ago, and we read both of these books I'm about to recommend in that class. But let me state right up front that these books do not feel like homework. In other words, they are not at all boring. They're engaging and enraging reads, and of the half dozen or so books we read in that class, I chose one about America up to the time of Hairspray and another about America after the time of Hairspray, leading up to right now. The first book is Slavery by Another Name: The Re-Enslavement of Black Americans from the Civil War to World War II by reporter Douglas A. Blackmun, which won the 2009 Pulitzer Prize for General Nonfiction. It is a very long book, but it's highly readable. And yet, if you're overwhelmed by the size of the tome, you can also check out the 2012 PBS documentary of the same name, which is also great. The second book is The New Jim Crow: Mass Incarceration in the Age of Colorblindness by civil rights lawyer Michelle Alexander. Both of these books should be required reading for every American, to be honest.
I love those recommendations. The new Jim Crow has been on my reading list for a long time, so I'm definitely going to get on that. And the other book I had never heard of, but it sounds exactly like you put it, engaging and enraging. I love that description. But I really like that you had these because I think that that's such an important part of the movie Hairspray is just like how it shows that aspect of the 60s. I think I like John Waters movies because he's not overly nostalgic. I think sometimes, especially when you're a historian and you're looking at the past, there's a tendency for people to be looking backwards through rose colored glasses and thinking about the way things used to be in a more positive light. And sometimes that's really dangerous. And I find that John Waters is able to show this, like the fun parts of the time period that he's depicting, but also how terrible it was for people of color and just like showing these small ways that people had to fight for their rights is for me as watching as a kid. I had never seen anything like this, and it definitely sort of sparked my interest in learning about history because I was like, wow, I never knew this part of American history. I really should like learn more. So I think these books are great.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
B. All right, well, we've come to the end. Any other thoughts?
I'm glad you shared something that was so formative for you as a child, Kat.
Yay.
Me too.
So my first episode was for Labyrinth, and I remember Garcelle talking about what an important part of her childhood that movie played and how it was something that she just like always remembered being there. And I was like, wow, what piece of media was that for me? And then I realized that it was Hairspray. So this is my Labyrinth.
Aw.
I think my labyrinth is Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Really?
Ooh, another good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, I ruined several VHS tapes,
Yes.
rewinding and watching over and over and over again.
I used to rewatch that over and over again too. I think we need a Pee Wee's episode, Amanda.
I
Yes.
think I would love to join you for a Pee-wee's episode.
Yes. Oh, I would be so into that. That would be really fun. I still think about how he makes breakfast in the morning.
Yep, with a
It's
Rube Goldberg machine.
amazing. Yes.
For me, it's a tequila
Fantastic.
dance that I always think of first.
Yes.
I did that down the aisle of a wedding where I was the flower girl
Oh,
while I was
Wow.
passing out flowers.
oh my God. That's
Yep.
adorable.
Yeah.
Wow.
How old were you, if I may ask? Please say you were like
God.
23.
Yeah, I wish. No, I do not. I don't remember how old I was, but I couldn't have been more than like 6 or 7.
Oh my
Aw.
God. That's so sweet.
I'm pretty sure there's a video of it somewhere.
Yes.
Aw.
I feel like that really gives a lot of insight into who you are. Oh.
Makes sense.
Well, on that note, thank you so much for joining us, Amanda. This
Thank
has
you
been
for having
delightful.
me.
Amanda.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. Thank you.
Where can listeners find you?
You can find me personally on Instagram at Ridiculous Amanda. That's where the majority of the things I do end up. You can find my podcast, Fictional Hangover, wherever you listen to podcasts at fictionalhangover.com, on Facebook and Instagram at Fictional Hangover, and on Twitter at Fictional Hangover, no ER. Also on Goodreads. Join our monthly book club there. We have a lot of fun.
And I will just say that Amanda does amazing cosplay like every week.
Thank you. Yeah, book character cosplay is one of my new favorite things.
You're super talented, and I'm always like blown away by what you can put together.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Now I feel like I need to dress up for this episode.
Oh, yes. I would love it. That concludes this episode of the Bluestocking Circle podcast. For show notes, visit thebluestockingcircle.com. Find us on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Pinterest, and pretty much everywhere at Blue Sock Circle. That's Blue SOX Circle. Email us at thebluestockingcircle@gmail.com and join the conversation. You may also find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and YouTube. So please rate, review, and subscribe to help us grow.
Cheers!
Project One. Bleh. Bleh. It's like Project One. Oh my God. No. I cursed myself. Oh no.